Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this big Football New South Wales clash between Sydney United 58 Football Club and Sydney FC. 4, Joseph Chalusic. Number 9, Matthias McAllister. Number 10, Tay Headley. Number 12, Alexander Zevadivos. 14, Jared Middleton. 22, Zach Fowler. 27, Lachlan Middleton. 29, Joe Lacey. 37, Will Kennedy and captain. 39, Dylan Rose. And number 47, Corey Cronin. On the bench for Sydney FC this afternoon are number 1, Max Bertola. 3, Kyle Shaw. 7, Nicholas Alfaro. 15, Samuel Lancaster. 23, Junior Conde. And number 25, Ethan Zaya. For the home team this afternoon, Sydney United 58 Football Club. In goal, we have number 1, Tristan Pendergrass. 3, Bailey Rule. 4, and captain, Adrian Vastelitsa. 5, Anthony Tomalich. 9, Patrick Antelmi. 10, Carlos de Oliveira. 16, Anthony Krilic. 17, Michael Glasick. 19, Aidan Milicevic. 23, Mason Wells. And number 32, Leroy Jennings. On the bench, we have number 7, Jordan Ivancic. 8, Mario Chabal. 13, Alessandro Lacalandra. 14, Liam McGinn. 31, Josip Olovic. And number 37, Luke Javella. Good luck to both teams, but come on, Sydney United 58 Football Club.
Good afternoon and welcome to Sydney NPL men's action. Sydney FC have their sights set on the top 6 after a nice winning run through April and May. They'll be hoping they kick off June with a win against the team standing by the door inside the top 6. Sydney United 58, fresh off punching their ticket to the Australia Cup national rounds, will be hoping for a bit of revenge against the side that beat them back in round 2 earlier in the year. All the ingredients for a good game of football in this second part of the season. Will Constantinides here in the Boca stand at the Sydney United Sports Centre in Adensa Park. FIFA anthem blaring around the grounds, which means kickoff isn't far away. And we'll take you through the team news, starting first with Ante Juric's Sydney United 58. A solid outing midweek in the Cup where they got the job done against League 2 Granville Rage. A 1-0 win with Mason Wells' goal punching their place in the next stage. They come into today on a 3-game winning streak in all competitions, including that 2-1 win down south at Seymour Shore against the Sharks last week. He makes just the one change. Matt Hatch is out. He's replaced by Anthony Krilic. As for the rest of the starting 11, in goal, number 1, Tristan Prendergast. 3 at the back, Bailey Rule alongside number 4, Adrian Vlastelica. Number 5, Anthony Tomalich. Number 9 up front, Patrick Antelmi. Number 10, Carlos de Oliveira. Number 17, Michael Glasick. Number 19, Aidan Milicevic. Number 23, Mason Wells. And number 32, Leroy Jennings. As for Sydney FC, well, they've quietly or loudly, whichever way you look at it, they've emerged as finals contenders. A side that in the early part of the season was stuck in the bottom 4, have put a few good results together in recent weeks and now are within touching distance of their opponents today who sit inside the top 6. A win against Sydney United would not only do the double against United, but would also put them ever closer towards the finals places. A 1-0 loss against St George FC midweek for Jimmy Van Wieren's academy side. They make plenty of changes. A lot of them are forced because of the plethora of players that they have on youth national team duties. And 1 is away with the under-18s. FC, and that their players are getting called into the youth national teams, but it means that plenty of new players will get the chance to shine today. One of those is Zavadinos in goal, who clears there. He replaces Gus Hufslet. As for the rest of the 11 is no Tyler Williams, no Tiago Quintal, no Zach DeJesus, no Wataru Kamijo, no Gus Hufslet as well. Will Kennedy is also absent, which means a total of 6 changes for Jimmy Van Wieren's side. Meanwhile, Leroy Jennings is on the attack for United. It'll be a corner, as we'll quickly run you through the starting 11 for the visitors. Number 9, Matthias McAllister. Number 10, Tay Headley. Number 14, Jared Middleton. Number 27, Lockie Middleton. Number 29 is Joe Lacey. 4, Joseph Kalisic. 12, Alex Zavadinos in goal. Number 22, Zach Fowler. Number 39, Corey early opportunity here for United. Whipped in towards the near post, seen away by Tay Headley. Correction, Corey Cronin there. And now United have a chance to try and pile on some pressure here. Searching for numbers. Here is Krilic. Is it blocked away, and now they can burst forward here potentially. Zach Fowler in possession. There's a quick look at what's ahead of him. Players fighting for the ball right in front of the United bench. Krilic. I wonder if our officials out there today. We've got Jake Rose out in the middle. Aaron Bloch and Matt Staples are his assistants. Our fourth official just in front of us is Mia Velarde. And as Tay Headley finds space out wide here for Sydney FC to try and work. Middleton. Back to his brother Jared Middleton. Kalisic. This is good football from Sydney FC. Lockie Middleton now. Will Kennedy. Kalisic swinging it around. This is what Sydney FC are quite good at. They're good at keeping the ball. And in the early part of the season, even when they struggled, they were generating chances. It was just about capping them off. As Carlos de Oliveira starts the press, and Antelmi will force Kalisic all the way back to Zavadinos. Jared Middleton. Sydney FC will bide their time. Corey Cronin checking in as now he'll invert into midfield to try and add some extra numbers. Patient in build-up so far, the visitors. And defensively, they're actually one of the better sides in the competition, Sydney FC. It's very rare that you see an academy side amongst the top teams defensively. They've only conceded 20 goals through their 16 games this campaign, which puts them at fourth best. Usually academy sides are known for scoring plenty, but being leaky defensively, it's quite the opposite for Sydney FC this season. As Kalisic steps forward into midfield. Kennedy. Sydney United are well set in their defensive structure, but that's a handy first touch by Kalisic. Now he finds Tay Headley. And the second that Sydney FC make any progress, it's promptly shut down by the hosts. And as Corey Cronin can recycle possession through Jared Middleton. And Sydney United are happy to give their opponents the ball here. Rose exchanging passes with Lockie Middleton. Now Jared Middleton. Sydney FC have pinned United back here, and now they can find a bit more space forward. Kennedy, left-footed, low-driven cross into Zach Fowler's feet. Tries to create the shooting angle, but there was not a lot of space around him. And they're slowly pushing United back even further into their defensive shape, which is giving Sydney FC more of the ball in this midfield area. Dylan Rose. Headley. Kennedy. Headley darts inside looking for a crafty pass to the back post, and Matthias McAllister was the intended target. Just skipped away from him. But Sydney FC have definitely made their intentions known. Of course, that 3-1 win earlier back in round 2 turned a lot of heads around the league. As Antelmi is shut down by 2 Sydney FC defenders. Dylan Rose coming in to clean that out of play. Antelmi has it taken off him, and McAllister has his head up. Was looking for Zach Fowler racing away down the wing as McAllister gets there at the second attempt, and he's tripped up here. Foul on Milicevic. Wasn't a lot of contact necessarily in it, but it was behind and late. That was always going to attract the attention of our centre referee today, Jake Rose. There's no Matt Hatch for Sydney United today as well. That's a big talking point considering how good he's been in recent weeks. As Headley stands over this free kick opportunity for Sydney FC. They've looked threatening, yet to fully test Tristan Prendergast with all this possession that they have had. Headley, floated ball towards the back post, and well, they weren't far away from getting something on that there, Sydney FC. Joe Lacey was the man at the back stick, but couldn't get a clean look on goal. Now United try and build out, but they aren't able to keep it there. Mason Wells was where they were looking towards. Now Wells has won it back. And tell me, sliding in was Joe Lacey, but it's still with Sydney United in midfield. Milicevic is dispossessed by Middleton. Lacey turns the corner and tries to get through a couple of Sydney United defenders. Carlos de Oliveira giving chase to Will Kennedy, who takes no chances and finds safety in his defenders. Lovely release pass over the top by Dylan Rose. Fowler going to fashion across, and it's all too close to Tristan Prendergast. And he has his head up quickly. Wells can create problems. He's popped up in the goals in these last couple of weeks, including that match winner against the Granville Rage here on Wednesday night. They were really pushed by the League Two outfit, were Sydney United, but all that matters is getting a win and moving on to the next round, which is exactly what they've done. The Cup specialists, Sydney United 58, they just know how to get to the Australia Cup, of course. Famous for that run that saw them go all the way to the Australia Cup final. Fowler able to win possession back after he initially lost it. Jared Middleton. Tay Headley has a bit of space and turns. Corey Cronin. Middleton. Rose. Lovely pass between the defenders for Cronin, and now Headley can get into the attacking third. Tay Headley darting inside. It comes off the back of Rose there. As Sydney FC try and win it back just as quickly as they lost it, and that's what they've done well. They've limited these counter-attacking opportunities that United are looking for. They are sitting back and defending, but they just haven't been able to break yet through 10 minutes of football. Sydney trying to squeeze opportunities that they do have as Headley's pass finds its way to Cronin. Rose. Lofted ball forward for Lacey. He will just about get there. The first touch was before it went out, but he was unable to keep it in. Of course, this is one of a few games happening at the moment. We had an interesting slate of games recently. Apia defeating the Mariners 5-0. Another attacking onslaught from Franco Parisi's men. Another side that's going to the Australia Cup national rounds. Join the Sydney United 58 and the Northern Tigers, who defeated Hills midweek as well. Of course, one more game still to come. Elsewhere, the Spirit yesterday knocking off Blacktown City 4-1. Another really eye-catching result. Fowler asked to do a bit too much there. So now Sydney United get a bit of a rest on the defensive end. They can try and rebuild through this goal kick. Haven't been too many occasions when we've seen the likes of Glasic or Vlastelica play forward as Glasic looks over the top towards Antelmi. Just nothing doing right now for Ante Juric's men. Head-to-head recently, they have had the better of Sydney FC in these last 10 games. 5 wins to United, 4 to Sydney FC, and just the one draw. But it's all about that most recent game back in round 2 where goals to Lacey, Kalisic and McAllister, who are all out there today. despite Sydney FC's absences, high-profile absences as well. They certainly have the weapons to cause the 6th-placed Sydney United some problems. McAllister now. Links up with Joe Lacey. That's fantastic football on the wing by Sydney. And now they look in behind for Tay Headley. It just swerves away from him towards Michael Glassick. And again, just a couple of these 1-2 touches from Sydney are really creating difficulties here for United. They are well set in their defensive structure, but we'll see how long this defensive line holds as McAllister looking for the flick on. Wells, anywhere will do for United right now. And Tell Me is isolated up top. That means it's easily dealt with by Sydney. De Oliveira with an important touch in to regain possession. Krilic, Tomilic. Jennings was making the run over in behind instead of towards the ball, and now Rose snakes his way through the defenders. Fowler trying to go one-on-one, but Prendergast was rushing out and did so cleanly. A brief flash there for Sydney FC. And Zach Fowler has come into the side and already made a big impact. Krilic is legged by Lacey. Of course, this is Zach Fowler's first start in first grade this season. He's made 6 appearances off the bench to this point, but a few players getting opportunities with others on national team duty. Glassick sliding that ball over the defence as Kennedy will try and let this run out with Jennings in pursuit. Sydney FC will take that goal kick. Another player getting starting chance. Alex Zavadinos out there. Just his second start of the season. His first since round 1. That game against the Spirit, but with Gus Hufslet away with the Australian under-20s, he gets his chance to keep between the sticks. Tall task keeping this Sydney United attack at bay. As De Oliveira was the intended target over the top as Cronin tries to hook that down the line. Will go out of play, so Bailey Rule can take that throw. Glassick. 15 minutes gone here, no major chances between these two teams, but it's definitely Sydney FC that have had more of the ball, and they have had a couple of half chances, even if they haven't really forced Tristan Prendergast into anything major. I mean, he did save that Fowler one-on-one a little earlier, but he was always going to be favoured to get to that ball as Jennings and Kennedy are tangled up between each other. Jennings pleading with the referee that there was a foul in there. Jake Rose disagrees. Of course, aside from their Australia Cup success, it's been another success for a Sydney United alumni, Nicholas Milanovic, former Sydney United junior, winning the Johnny Warren medal for the best player in the A-League season. And even better for Sydney United juniors, they were given a Isuzu Ute because he nominated them as his junior club, and so the junior club of the Johnny Warren medal winner gets that prize. So one lucky member of the club got to take that one home, no doubt. Confusion between Tomilic and De Oliveira. It's a Turnover for Sydney United, and now they're worrying about the press. Kalisic evades and tell me who was in with a sniff there, getting the ball as Tom Milich goes in strong but fair. And now the challenges are starting to pick up in intensity. Vlastelica over the top, and Jennings won't be able to keep that one in. You can see what the intention is from Sydney United is to almost bypass this press and look to their wings, which has been their strength at times this season. Even with Matt Hatch, predominantly more of a fullback out, they can bring in Anthony Krilic. And Jennings and Wells have played really well alongside de Robillard on the wings. They've got great depth in those positions. McAllister looking centrally. Kennedy. Kalisic. They've seen plenty of the ball. Sydney FC centre back. And they force Sydney FC all the way back to Zavadinos to Sydney United. Now he looks long up top towards McAllister. Classic able to get there ahead of him, but it's Sydney FC that are winning a lot of the second ball right now. Jimmy Van Wieren will be pleased with how they're retaining possession. Now they're just looking for that cutting edge in front of goal as De Oliveira cleanly wins possession. Release pass for Mason Wells is pinpoint, and now Patrick Antelmi can arrive into the box in support. Wells, he loves to cut inside and score, but this time he opts for the more patient one in Bailey Rule. Antelmi saved well by Zavadinos. Hayden Milicevic rushing through on the shot, but the first real counter-attacking opportunity for Sydney United, and it's dealt with in the end by Sydney FC. Headley got between the lines, momentarily tripped over the ball, but he still has it at his feet. Kennedy. Fowler. Kennedy making that underlapping run, but it'll just roll away out of play. And Antelmi looking centrally. Broken up by Rose. Middleton slides that pass wide to Corey Cronin. And this is where most of the game has been played so far, just slightly inside Sydney United's half, but with the ball at Sydney FC's feet. Now Rose will try himself from distance, but it was seen all the way by Tristan Prendergast. Vlasic. And Antelmi tries to play with his back to goal. And Sydney FC can reset again. That's been the pattern of play. Sydney United trying to play quick and trying to go forward, but not having too many avenues forward consistently here. Bailey Rule. Links up with Wells. Vlastelica. Krilic. Now it's United who get a chance to try and build up here. Milicevic recycles possession well with Carlos de Oliveira. And Bailey Rule slides to try and keep it in, but just ran out of room over on that far side. And Sydney United in recent weeks have strung together some good wins at home. They struggled at home in the early part of the season, but including that cup win midweek, they've won 4 of their last 5 games at home. Of course, they also had that dramatic penalty shootout against Sydney Olympic here, which went all the way to the goalkeepers. Tristan Prendergast scored his penalty. So all in all, on their home record so far this season, in the league this is, 4 wins, a draw and 3 losses. 3 of those last 4 wins have come recently as Kalisic takes the risk dribbling forward and is able to shrug off a couple of defenders. Middleton fakes left and goes right. Kennedy. Lacey dropping it back to Rose, and Sydney FC will reset here and try and poke more holes in this United defence. It's a cross towards Fowler, but again, Tristan Prendergast is commanding his area well at the moment. He's definitely been the busier of the two goalkeepers. Zavadinos has made a save, but was at a decent height and fairly regulation. Tomilic. A bit of space for Anthony Krilic to work into. We haven't seen him get as far forward as his opposite number, Will Kennedy, has. And even someone like Bailey Rule, who we're so used to seeing bomb forward, has been pinned back by what Sydney FC have been able to do through the first period of this half. Into the feet of Jennings. Milicevic. Glasic now. And this is rare for United. The centre-back's knocking the ball around inside Sydney FC's half. Vlastelica takes the space given to him and floats it past to Mason Wells. Touch is good to take it forward. Milicevic with the shot on goal. A great save by Zavadinos. Fingertips to it to tip it away from danger. And that was a well-worked move by Sydney United 58. It started with some patient build-up initially before the pass went out wide to Mason Wells, who took it down and then just laid it off for Milicevic. First time strike had Zavadinos getting across his line. And now they have their second corner of the game. In it goes. Sent away from danger by Jared Middleton. Bailey Rule. Vlastelica will try himself, the centre-back. Middleton had to get his hands away from it as Wells goes to ground. Hands are up from the Sydney United players, but I'm inclined to agree with Jake Rose there. It seemed like a fair challenge between two players going for the ball. But some signs of positivity in this Sydney United 58 attack. They forced Zavadinos into some meaningful action now, and Sydney FC will have to be wary of that despite their dominance in possession. Now they look down the other end. Joe Lacey tries to dance along the sideline, but just ran out of real estate on this Boca stand sideline. Krilic finds Antelmi. Jared Middleton. Lockie Middleton. Joe Lacey was looking between the centre-backs as Glasic says that'll do and sends it out wide towards Will Kennedy. That one's over the head of Corey Cronin. And so Sydney United can get the ball back to feet here. McAllister. Middleton. Sydney FC resume this pattern of play that they had, which saw them create a bit of success in attack, but neither side yet to find the back of the net through under half an hour of football. All the goals that happened back in round two when these sides were all in the second half. So perhaps unsurprising that it's been a somewhat cagey affair as the corner flag keeps that one in, which means Krilic has to find his way out of trouble with Jennings. More touches for Jared Middleton. Now he can drive forward. Headley swings it wide. Corey Cronin. More patient possession from Jimmy Van Weer inside, and now they've turned it over. They can go forward here. Milicevic had the heads up of Antelmi potentially bursting away, as now Jennings will try and give pursuit. Zavadinos goes for distance on the clearance. Header is well won by Fowler, but Tomilic has the height to win the second ball. Sydney FC win this battle. Cronin looking for a cross towards McAllister. Top of the box and deflected. Middleton strike, I think, had the sting taken out of it there, on its way through to Tristan Prendergast. And tell me, wins the flick on, but Kalisic is able to get between him and the ball before Milicevic has played Antelmi just in behind the defence. The bouncing ball will aid Sydney FC as they can recover. A brief, nervy moment at the back is diffused. Middleton. Pass between the lines. They were looking for Joe Lacey, and Tay Headley can come the other way. He's got space to drive into. Tay Headley looking for the strike. Was off balance and wasn't going to create too many problems for Prendergast, who now has to go for distance himself. Jennings has Kennedy right there with him. And tell me, with a vital first touch to keep possession with Sydney FC, but there's too many Sydney FC players around him there. And the key with Sydney FC, that is, they won't be rushed. Even when they perhaps could have gone forward and taken a risk, they've opted to keep the ball and just continue to squeeze this United defence. Kalisic. Kennedy. Rose. Around the corner pass will swerve kindly for Fowler. Takes his man inside. Fowler with the strike. Cries of handball, but Krilic's arms were definitely by his side there. Even if there was a touch on the arm, it may have been closer to the hip. Rose, well won in midfield. Good link up by Sydney FC. McAllister in the area. Could turn and shoot. Now it's with Tay Headley. Was always rising, but that was some silky football there by Sydney FC. Middleton, Rose, Headley and McAllister all involved in that exchange. And the academy side pulling out the tricks to try and create something through this steady United defence. And so far they've met the call here, the hosts. And they're looking for their fourth straight clean sheet at home in all competitions. 1-0 win against Grenville Rage midweek. 2 weeks ago against St. George City, they also won 1-0. And then a 2-0 win against Mount Druitt before that. So it's 3 straight clean sheets at this venue. As Wells looks to get one going down the other end. Tomilic. His header loops over Milicevic. Krilic. Now it's United's turn to be patient with the ball. Vlasic. Wells. Drifting inwards. De Oliveira almost dispossessed by Headley, but this will stay with United. It'll be United throw. Looking for a way through on the attack as McAllister and Fowler can potentially think about a counter here for Sydney FC. Fowler looking to test the pace of Tomilic, who tracks back and stops him, and did well enough not just to stop him but to force him out of play. Jake Rose just telling Bailey Rule to take it back a couple of steps. Here's Rose with Rule. Vlastelica. Krilic. De Oliveira turns. You can see what the intent is from Carlos De Oliveira. He wants his side to play forward, but keeping the ball has been rare for United, that they'll value the possession that they do get. Now Milicevic gets the call to go forward. He has space to go. Looking for Jennings in the area, chesting it. Wouldn't sit kindly for him. Now Sydney FC have to be careful here, but they do play out eventually. McAllister. United get back into their defensive shape. Middleton. Kalisic. Kennedy. Zavadinos. Jared Middleton. Lockie Middleton. You can see they've set up really well in these walls defensively. Sydney United making it really difficult for the Sydney FC to play through them. As now Kalisic has to go forward. His passing options were shut down as United forced the error. Kennedy athletically through the air before Milicevic sends that out of play. Bouncing around, it stays with Sydney FC for United to win it back. And tell me, they'd come back well from an offside position there. And some score updates from around the grounds, of course. Marconi and Mount Druitt. That one has kicked off. Brendan Vella, a rare goal for the Marconi defender, has them up 1-0 against Mount Druitt. Meanwhile, St. George FC have taken the lead against Rockdale Illingdon. Bay Antonio against his former side. He has them in front through half an hour. Still no score here. There's definitely an eye-catching result over at the Illingdon Sports Centre. Rose has to be careful. He's not dispossessed here. Eventually he moves the ball on. Middleton. This is where Sydney FC have had a lot of the ball. United will be content with that. Now they'll try and win it back once it progresses through midfield. Fowler. And Kennedy felt that wasn't quite the whole ball, but our assistant referee had made the call, was well stationed. And Sydney FC send that out. They can reset as United will march further up the pitch. Krilic. 10 minutes plus extras in this first half. Still yet to find a breakthrough either of these two teams, but it's been played very tightly between them. Krilic is forced back to Prendergast as McAllister will press. That forces Prendergast to send it up. Carlos De Oliveira unable to latch onto that one. It's with Corey Cronin. There's two United defenders for company. Mason Wells goes sliding in. Sydney FC have definitely had the lion's share of possession, but on some of the chances, it's probably even between these two. That Milicevic shot that forced Zavadinos into a big save is probably United's best of the game. Meanwhile, Headley and Fowler have had a couple of decent looks on goal for Sydney FC. Chances, even possession, certainly not. As Wells. Now they can spring a counter with Carlos De Oliveira getting forward. Now he waits for some support to arrive. Tomilic. Krilic had to temporarily hold his run, and now that forces United to build up a bit more patiently as no one is picking up Tomilic, who can take the ball about 10 metres forward through midfield. Rule. Rare opportunity that we've seen him get forward. Glasic. Milicevic. Jennings. Tomilic. Vlastelica. Vlasic, and now Sydney FC will press. McAllister is going to pounce here. He could go 1-on-1 with Prendergast. He rounds the keeper. Open goal is waiting. And Matthias McAllister, caps that one off. Well won back by Sydney FC. Matthias McAllister did it all on his own. Forced the error. And a costly giveaway by Sydney United at the back. Rounded Tristan Prendergast, who was left in no man's land.
Number 9, Matthias McAllister. Sydney FC 1, leads Sydney United 0.
And Dylan McAllister, his father, will be impressed with that finish, no doubt. But another goal for Matthias McAllister on the season. His scoring run in the NPL continues. His 8th goal of the campaign. His last since that 2-0 win against Sutherland. But for United, that has to feel like a real punch to the gut, just as they were starting to build some momentum. They give one away at the back, and you cannot give someone like Matthias McAllister that sort of chance. And you can't give too many players that sort of chance as well. And Tristan Prendergast was having to rush out to meet him, and once he was outside his box, he was always going to be less favoured against Matthias McAllister. And so Sydney FC, despite having 5 players away on youth national team duties, and some of their more frequent contributors have found a way to go 1-0 up against United. And now there's a bit of afters here between Jennings and Kennedy. It's not the first time those two have come together. They've been going at it through these early stages. And now there's a bit of housekeeping work for Jake Rose to do here. Definitely a lot of shirt grabbing and the like between them. And just looking back at how that started on the replay, Kennedy and Jennings were just pushing and holding each other's shirts, and then Kennedy and Jennings weren't backing away from each other. And I think this is going to be a yellow card coming each way for the two of them. And we had a good view of it right here on the sideline as well. We could get all up close in it. And there's a yellow card coming both ways now. Jennings has his shirt in a bit of a tear right now. I don't know if they have a second jersey for him, as a few players from the Sydney United bench have gone down to the tunnel to try and get him another. You can see that on the screen now. That right side of his shirt is ripped up. And Vlastelica is having a bit of a word to Jake Rose. And so Leroy Jennings, I think he's just waiting for his jersey here. And Vlastelica is having a chat to our 4th official, Mia Velade. I think United want to continue playing here, but I don't think Jennings is allowed to play with his shirt in that sort of condition. And so now they make the swap. Jennings will be sporting a different number, it seems. He'll be wearing the number 15 now. And a bit of a reset here for both teams after that goal for Sydney FC. Five minutes remaining of regulation time. We'll probably have a decent amount left. Whipped in by Leroy Jennings in that number 15 jersey. Now with Rule, who would try his luck, but that was flashing wide of the goal. So now, like they did back when these two teams met in round 2, it was Sydney FC who got on the score sheet first. And that was 3 minutes after halftime. They've done well to score before halftime here and potentially get some momentum before they head into the sheds. How will United respond is the question. And tell me. Milicevic Now wide for Mason Wells. This is the type of space he likes to operate in. Wells cutting inside onto the left. Exactly the response they were after. He's so dangerous in those positions, Mason Wells. And when you give him an inch of space, cutting inside, he's able to find the bottom corner just like that.
Sydney United 1, Sydney FC 1.
He makes it goals in 3 consecutive matches, including the Cup, Mason Wells. And it started with some good work in midfield by Ada Milicevic, who slid it wide for Mason Wells, who had one thing on his mind, which was cut to the edge of the area, put his laces through it into the bottom corner, away from where Zavadinos could get to it. And now, momentum swings again, this time towards United. And just like they did in round 2, they equalise within 5 minutes of conceding. And again, it's Mason Wells with the equaliser. And now, Sydney United are the team playing with confidence right now. They've got an opportunity here. A couple minutes of regulation remaining. You'll probably have a decent amount of stoppage time, you'd think, owing to that little kerfuffle a few minutes ago. De Oliveira standing over this one. United looking to take the lead for the first time this afternoon. In it goes. There's plenty of players in there. Glassick and Jennings were getting tangled up between each other. Krilic looking for that looping ball. Kalisic is tested in the air. Jennings. Kennedy. A reminder that both Kennedy and Jennings are on the yellow card. Fowler just slightly overcommitted to the challenge. De Oliveira able to escape. Kennedy and Jennings will be on a yellow card for the remainder of the game. Perhaps more significantly for Will Kennedy, the Sydney FC captain and right fullback. Lacey. McAllister knew he was offside, so he left it for Tay Headley. Sydney FC try to respond as the game opens up. Tay Headley gets to the byline, looking for the cutback. Well defended by Vlastelica. The veteran defender wasn't falling for the youthful Sydney number 10's moves. And Sydney FC, you'd think, might take a little bit of time off the clock here and trying to get the last opportunity of this first half. Headley, something from the training ground for Sydney FC. Now he puts it towards the back post. And there was... Lockie Middleton was waiting there, but just couldn't get free of his marker. In any case, that wasn't far away from the side netting as well from Headley. Sydney United restart. Vlastelica. Looking for Jennings. It finds his feet, and United have an opportunity here. Jennings across the field. Shoulder to shoulder, says our referee, but play continues. De Oliveira with a curling effort. Zavadinos had to readjust. Such was the swerve on that effort from De Oliveira. Krilic felt that he was fouled by Fowler, but it's going to be a Sydney FC throw here deep in United's territory. McAllister has won it back cleanly, looking for the shooting angle, but it goes back to Prendergast and Sydney United. A few of these challenges starting to flare up in the game after that all in a little earlier. Wells. He's the man with the magic boots right now, and tell me. Milicevic makes a run forward. Rule gets into the area, tries. Then tested, and he gets the second one. And that one he puts away. Two quick goals from Sydney United 58
Sydney United
to take the lead. 10 minutes
Roll.
after going down a goal.
Sydney United
The perfect
2,
response from the
Sydney
home
FC
side.
1.
And momentum has been all their way since they equalised. And Bailey Rule, who hasn't got forward too often, gets his first shot on target. Zavadinos parried it, but only back towards Rule. And Rule learnt from his mistake on the first shot and just put his laces right through the second one.
Drew at 0 and Rockdale 2 lead St. George 1.
And it's been some end to this first half from both teams. It's really opened up since the 30-minute mark. And how the halftime team talks of both sets of benches will change after those Sydney United goals. That's the final action of the half, an entertaining half here at Adenza Park. United will head into the sheds up 2-1, courtesy of Bailey Rule's second goal of the campaign. But it's all to play for in the second 45. We'll consent Danitas up here in the gantry for you. We'll be back soon on the other side of this quick break. Welcome back to the second half here at the Sydney United Sports Centre, and how the game changed in that last 15 minutes. Just when the first half was looking like a very cagey affair, Matthias McAllister pounced on an error at the back, and then his goals were cancelled out by Sydney United's efforts, capped off by Mason Wells, cutting inside onto that left foot of his that has done damage so much in recent weeks for his third straight goal in as many games.
Come on, replacing number 9, Patrick Antelmi.
You may have heard over the PA system a confirmation of the change. Patrick Antelmi has been substituted at half-time. He's replaced by Luke Savella up top in the number 37 shirt. As Jennings continues to wear number 15 after having his number 32 jersey ripped in a altercation between him and Will Kennedy, both players on yellow cards as a result of that. Vlastelica wins it in the air. Krilic is there. This is going to be a real test of Sydney FC, how they will respond to being in what looked like a commanding position with all the possession in front of the score sheet. And the veteran presence of United able to get the better of them. Zavella and made his run forward, might have strayed offside though. Classic. Here is Jennings. Some score updates from around the grounds. Rockdale have taken the lead since half-time against St. George FC. Bay Antonio got on the score sheet, but 2 quick goals to Rockdale have them in front now. Meanwhile, Marconi have extended their advantage against Mount Druitt out to 2-0. De Oliveira looking over the top in behind, but that's going to bounce kindly for Alex Zavadinos. Rule. Now it's United's turn to play much in the same way that Sydney FC were playing through the first half, with some patient build-up. Jennings looking to make use of his pace in behind. It's dealt with by Sydney FC, but they're unable to keep the ball in play. And as the ball goes out, we might quickly run you through some substitutions. Jordan Ivancic is on the bench for Sydney United, as is Mario Chabot. As Alessandro Lacalandra also an attacking option. Liam McGing is there, and Josip Orlovic is the backup goalkeeper. They've already used Luke Zavella, of course. Meanwhile, for Sydney FC, they have Max Bertoya, number 3, Kyle Shaw, Nicholas Alfaro, Samuel Lancaster, Junior Conde, and Ethan Dyer are the options for Jimmy Van Weeren, as Milicevic holds possession despite a couple of challenges. Now he strikes, falls back out for Jennings. So Bailey Rule and Mason Wells on the score sheet down this right-hand side. The right winger and the right fullback. The two men that have United in front right now. Looking to reverse the result that they suffered at the hands of Sydney FC in round 2. Milicevic stands over this corner. In swinging delivery, looking for Zavella. Tomilic floats it up for Milicevic, who has to head it towards goal, but there's no one really there to help him. Headley battling away, but it's going to stay with United. And the third goal here would be exactly what they ordered out of the half-time break from Ante Juric's men. Kalisic sends it back from whence it came, which is Bailey Rule. Wells, at full stretch to keep it in, which means he gave himself away on the second touch, and now with Headley. That's been a sub for Sydney FC meanwhile. Samuel Lancaster is out there in midfield. That one was unannounced. His pass will get Jared Middleton tracking backwards. Glasic will be first to this ball and takes no chances, sends it over into the Boca stand. cursory glance at Sydney FC as we try to figure out who the player that came off was. It looks like it was Zach Fowler. So his first start in first grade this season comes to an end. Headley is shut down by De Oliveira, but it's only Lockie Middleton who benefits. He's able to get past Vlastelica and strike. Now it's with Lacey. Looking for the cutback. Good save by Prendergast. Wasn't going to be fooled by the initial fake by Joe Lacey, who then tried his luck at the near post. A deft little move there by Lacey to try and open up some space by hinting that he was looking for the pass, but then tried to sneak it in at the near post. Tristan Prendergast had his wits about him there to make the save, as now they crowd the keeper. Headley stands over this corner, looking for a delivery right into that danger zone. It's going to swing out, and Vlastelica is there to meet it. Put back into the mixer, but players were tracking back from an offside position, so Tristan Prendergast can throw that wide to Bailey Rule, who's on the score sheet for just the second time this campaign. Well taken finish. Had 2 goes at it. Now Will Kennedy has to be careful here. He's already on a yellow. And Carlos De Oliveira is going to remind Jake Rose of the fact, and that is going to be Will Kennedy's second yellow, which means his afternoon lasts 52 minutes after a late challenge on Carlos De Oliveira. And I don't think you can have too many complaints about it. It was late. It was a heavy challenge too. Especially with the fact that United were racing away on a potential attack. Means Sydney FC are going to have to see out the rest of this game with 10 men. It's the best part of 38 odd minutes still to go here. Looking for a double whammy here, Sydney United trying to score after the red card. It's McAllister who heads it away. Milicevic intended for Wells, and it looks like that sub will be coming for Jimmy Van Wieren. Kyle Shaw is being prepared on the bench, and that will be a substitution towards the back line, no doubt, to try and shore up things defensively now that Will Kennedy has been sent off. Vlasic can restart possession. Vlastelica. You'd think now Sydney United are just looking for that killer blow, that third goal to create a bit of breathing room between themselves and Sydney FC. Milicevic has so much space to work with now. There'll be plenty more for United. And Sydney FC are going to be pinned back, which is going to make it difficult for the likes of Lacey, McAllister, Headley, who got forward so often in the first half. And they can afford to just keep the ball. United, they have the lead, they have the man advantage. There's no need for them to just lump the ball into the box. They can wait for their time to attack and wait for an opportunity to present itself. It's up to Sydney FC to be the proactive team and get it off them. Krilic. Jennings. De Oliveira thought about the shot, but didn't like what he had ahead of him. Milicevic between the lines, still has possession, shifting it wide for Jennings. De Oliveira with a bit of space, now is with Milicevic, who's threatened all afternoon. Now he strikes. Blocked away by Sydney FC, but because they're defending with 10, there's no one really up the other end of the pitch for them to counter with. Matthias McAllister was the furthest player forward, but he was still 30 yards from his own goal. And now Kyle Shaw will enter the pitch for Tay Headley. This will prompt a bit of a reshuffle from Sydney FC. Kalisic goes from centre back to left back.
Coming on for Sydney FC is number 3, Kyle Shaw.
And Corey Cronin will go all the way over to right back from left back. And Sydney FC appear to be lining up in a 4-4-1 type formation here. Thomas Whiteside, who's taken charge in the dugout this afternoon. Ante Juric is in the stands. Tom Whiteside will be very happy with how his team are playing right now. They have everything going their way, and to cap it off, a third goal would be the cherry on top of this performance right now. Still have plenty of time, as do Sydney FC. The longer it stays at just a goal down, they might back themselves to jag something in attack. Rose trying to make something of it, but doesn't have much in the way of help. It means it's easily dealt with by Anthony Krilich. Well spotted. Bailey Rule, as they try and move the Sydney FC defence around, try and make use of the advantage they have. Rule, Wells, Milicevic. Now the likes of Krilich and Rule have all this extra room to operate with as they get forward. And De Oliveira knew as soon as it left his boot that it was rising over. Zavadinos, Jennings able to win it, and Sydney United are really starting to do what Sydney FC did to them in the first half, which is limit their opportunities, and has to be expected with the man advantage that they do have. But how can Sydney FC respond in this situation? De Oliveira intercepting in midfield. Krilich is in a race to beat the sideline, and he does so. De Oliveira, there's space out here on this right-hand side, but he's broken up by Middleton. McAllister. This goal has Sydney FC in the lead, but United have since responded well, and McAllister hasn't had all that many other chances. Here he is on the ball now. Matthias McAllister with Kalisic. Joe Lacey. Flicked up towards the back post. Middleton is there, but as is Leroy Jennings. And he smartly lets that roll out of play, which means United can get their defensive numbers up and try and restart. Krilich, he's had a good game at left back, filling in for Matt Hatch. And has taken his opportunity well here. Anthony Krilich. Just his sixth start of the campaign, to go with his 6 appearances off the bench. Crossed in towards Lacey. It's going to fall back out here. Shot was rising from Lancaster, but that's a good opportunity for Sydney FC, and I think they knew it. Chances in the box will be few and far between. When they present themselves, they want to at least test Tristan Prendergast. Maybe force a corner where they can try and work something from the set piece. Tomilic. Zavella, good hold-up play, and they can spray it wide to Wells. Numbers arriving. It's with Milicevic as well. That's where they go. He puts an early strike on. It was all tame and into the arms of Zavadinos. Glasic momentarily a bit of danger there, but no one was pressing on Vlastelica, so they can coolly play around the back four. Rose able to win it back for Sydney FC. Middleton. Good touches in midfield to evade Milicevic. First chance really in the second half through 15 minutes of play that Sydney FC have had this type of possession. They've been forced to rush things as Corey Cronin is dispossessed by Carlos de Oliveira. Rule could charge forward himself. Has Mason Wells alongside him. Showed a bit too much of it to Joe Lacey, but they'll still have the ball with the corner here. Sydney United. And Mason Wells will stand over this one. United in the hunt for this all-important third goal. Wells to the edge of the area. No one is picking up Milicevic. That was goal bound through the sea of bodies. Tomilic puts a strike on through his head. And Zavadinos was there. But there, Milicevic was unmarked. He was just 16 yards away from goal, but he made his run from well deeper than that. Was looking to put it through the traffic, maybe hoping for a couple of pinball deflections into the back of the net. As Cronin makes an error right in front of the United faithful. Krilic has a fistful of Rose's shirt here. Advantage is coming. And now that comes to an end and Krilic picks up his booking. And don't think he can have too many complaints himself there. There was a shirt pulling that lasted for about 10-15 metres there between him and Dylan Rose. So just over an hour gone, still no substitutions since the halftime break. Samuel Lancaster on for Sydney FC, Luke Zavella on for United. I think Tom Whiteside will be happy with how his Chargers are playing. Floated in. Kyle Shaw is there, as is Jared Middleton. It'll come down for McAllister. And for a brief moment, they had United scrambling before it went over the line for the goal kick. Goal kick taken short to Bailey Rule. Zavella is up ahead. He looks to play in his feet. Wells. And this is good football by United. They won't be rushed. As long as they can avoid the sort of errors that saw them concede the first goal to Matthias McAllister, chances will be a rare commodity for Sydney FC. Krilic down the line for Jennings. First time cross, looking for someone on the top of the 18 before Sydney FC deal with it and think about building a counter, but Matthias McAllister has to take his touch back towards his own goal before a lovely outside of the foot release pass. Cronin. Joe Lacey is in the area, but it's a low percentage option, so he cuts inside himself. And Prendergast is up and takes that into his arms. Rule is tracked down by Lacey, and a clean challenge to put it out for the throw. Classic. Prendergast. Chipped pass out to Krilic. Tomilic. Good pass forward, but it was well cut out by Cronin. De Oliveira starts the press, so Zavella follows and will force Zavadinos back towards the right side where Tomilic is stationed. He's so good in the air. The tall defensive midfielder, that's what he's done for so many years in this competition, Anthony Tomilic. Years and years of locking down this number 6 role for Sydney United 58. Lacey looks to go one-on-one with Krilic, who reads that step over move and concedes the throw. Kalisic is the recipient of this pass from Rose, and now he can turn inside. We saw him do this in the first half a little bit. Looks to leave it for McAllister, who battles with Glassick, but now United can burst forward on the counter. Sydney FC have committed a couple of numbers. Milicevic opts for the more patient pass with Jennings. Thought about the launching crossfield switch, but now they'll just knock it around. De Oliveira had to be careful with Lockie Middleton lurking. Rule has a lot more room to work with. He makes his move to the byline. Checks back towards Wells. Milicevic. They work the triangles on this right-hand side. Tomilic. De Oliveira. Krilic. Low-driven ball. It's going to fall to Zavella. Just got tangled up in his feet there, and United were looking for the scraps if the Sydney FC couldn't quite clear. And United continue just to recycle possession. A vice grip on the ball right now. Wells is overlapped by Rule. First time ball to the near post, and Kalisic gets a toe onto it. It'll be a United corner. Wells, his delivery was good just a moment ago. Towards the back post where Glassick is. He got a head onto it, and they want another corner. They'll get it. That was almost pinpoint delivery there from Mason Wells, but Michael Glassick couldn't quite get his head over it to avoid the defender, and now they're going to pile numbers around Alex Zavadinos. Again, it's towards Glassick, but that one's a little deeper, and it's over his head. They're targeting that far post area right now, Sydney United. Just over 20 minutes to go. It's still Bailey Rule's goal just before the halftime break that has Sydney United in front. Mason Wells got the comeback started with what is now becoming one of his signature moves, the cut inside. Here he is now, Wells, looking to add his second. Wells had that angle shut down by Kalisic. And Sydney FC are looking to go to their bench now. A couple of players coming across. Rule exchanges passes with Wells. Flag is up. And that's a frustrating end to the attack for United. Savadinos will push the troops forward and try and regain back a bit of field position here. Sydney FC. Vlastelica is good in the air, but it comes down with Lacey. Middleton's there at the second challenge. Cronin. Sun beginning to set. Over here at Denser Park, the pitch draped in shadows right now. Rose has to check backwards. Has split the gap to Jared Middleton. Kalisic. Ball in. Vlastelica deals with that situation as Dylan Rose a bit too eager on Carlos de Oliveira. And so here comes that sub now for Sydney FC. Looks like Junior Kunde and Ethan Dyer being readied. Mario Chabot also down there for Sydney United 58. Junior Kunde's 7th appearance off the bench for first grade this season. And Zavella moves it around to Tomalic. Sydney FC are trying to press, but Glasic says that'll do and just lops it down to Zavadinos. Bit of confusion, but it'll be Sydney United throw. You know, this is going to be first appearance of the season in first grade for Ethan Dyer. A good opportunity for him to make his mark with the game still in the balance. We said the longer it stays at a goal, Sydney FC will fancy themselves to try and create something. United are looking for the killer blow. So here comes that double sub now. Junior Kunde and Ethan Dyer.
Coming on for Sydney FC are number 23, Junior Conde, and number 25, Ethan Dyer.
Joe Lacey gets the early mark. And it looks like a player has gone off over on the far side as well. As Mario Chabot is also being prepared. Glasic won't be rushed and will just play it wide. United can afford to be extra patient with possession, but they'll be mindful of the fact that it's only a 1-goal lead. Jennings with that quick burst of speed. Middleton sends that out over the sideline. So here comes that substitution. And Adam Milicevic departs. A solid performance from the Sydney United midfielder.
Comes off Faden Milicevic. To be replaced by number 8, Mario Chabot.
And so Chabot comes into the game. It's a great thing that United have. They have this depth in their squad now that players are starting to come back. There was a story of the first part of the season for United that they were really riding out some of these injuries, but since they've gotten the likes of De Oliveira, Chabot, playing more consistently, Michael Glasic as well, has really turned their fortunes around as they look to put a bit of a breathing room buffer between themselves and that chasing pack that is right behind them in 6th. Coming into today, there was only 5 points separating 6th and 12th on the ladder, which just goes to show how tight this middle of the pack is. All these teams vying for a spot in the top 6, and right now United occupy that final place. This will be an important win against a side that has been in good form as of late, Sydney FC. Kalisic, Kunde, Lancaster, Rose. Sydney FC are forced to move the ball quickly, and now they've turned it over. United's press works. Jennings, Chabot, cutting inside. He has Jennings on the wing if he can find him. Pass to Zavella was broken up by Kalisic. One back by Wells, De Oliveira. He's taken to the ground, and Jake Rose, our referee, says that he went down a little bit softly. As De Oliveira tries to win it back, but it's still with Sydney FC. Challenges flying in. Dyer impressing in his first minutes of the season. Kunde. There's a player down in back play here. Matthias McAllister. That was another great opportunity for Sydney FC. And that's exactly the type of player you would want in that situation. McAllister already on the score sheet. And he knows that was a good opportunity. An unmarked header inside the area. Sydney FC know that they can create problems. They only need that one chance. There's still plenty of time to create more. Meanwhile, players receiving treatment on the far side. Just waiting to see who it is. It might be Michael Glassick down on the turf. It's not. It's actually... I'll call for the sub here. So Liam McGing will be the replacement. It's actually Vlastelica who's down. This is their skipper here, United. And now there's a bit of extracurriculars happening. Meanwhile, the substitution is going on. Liam McGing, this will be a like-for-like swap at the back. And Captain Vlastelica, who is not one to shy away from a physical contest at all. He's really feeling the effects of this challenge, struggling to get back on his feet here, the skipper. So that substitution is confirmed. Liam McGing will come on in place of Adrian Vlastelica.
Please give him a big round of applause. Captain number 4, Adrian Vlastelica, being replaced by number 14, Liam McGing.
And so McGing will have the task of shoring up this defence with Sydney FC starting to make inroads. Just a 1-goal lead for the 11 men of United versus the 10 men of Sydney FC. If you've joined us late in the second half, a red card to Will Kennedy early in the piece has meant that United have played with a man up for the best part of the second half. It was a frantic end to the first half as well. Sydney FC took the lead through McAllister. A few minutes later, Wells equalised before Bailey Rule, who's on the ball now, put them in front. But since then, it's been very tight. Zavella is pulled down by Middleton, and now the challengers have started to pick up, returning to the intensity we saw in the first half. Vlasic thought about going down the left. They head back down this right side. Chabot looking for around the corner pass to Wells. Middleton able to cut that out. Sydney FC try to go quickly, but they're halted as they have to be careful they don't give it away in a good area. Kalisic. And Cronin has to recover and is forced into the mistake. Rule. Zavella seals out his man. McGing's first involvement is to head it clear. And that keeps the attack going. De Oliveira has bursted forward through the defence, goes to ground. He still has the ball at his feet there, Carlos De Oliveira. They're still playing here, but I think it was off his hand, and I think he knew it there, Carlos De Oliveira. He was looking for a bit of contact. Meanwhile, Vlastelica continues his slow march around the edge of the pitch. He's really feeling that challenge. Tomilic is good in the air again. Krilic. Kyle Shaw will collect this one. Middleton. Kalisic. Shaw. Now the press might be coming, but they find McAllister between the lines. He moves it on for Cronin. Touch takes him inwards. Has to get the second to keep it alive. Kalisic was asking a lot of Lancaster there. Another change is being prepared by Jimmy Van Weeren and Sydney FC. Rule. Chabot. Wells. More patient build-up coming for United. They know they can just keep it. Krilic. Bouncing ball will be with Shaw. Kunde trying to get behind the defence, but Glasic is there to sweep it up. Sends that down the line. It'll be a Sydney FC throw. Nicholas Alfaro is the man being prepared. This will be just his second appearance of the season. Also his first since round 1 against the Spirit. So a lot of players that got their brief stint in first grade early in the season whilst the A-League was in full swing are now getting a return to the team with a lot of the main first graders away on youth national team duties. Quintal, De Jesus, Camijo and Hustler all away with the under-20s for their friendlies against Argentina. And Tyler Williams away with the under-18s at the moment. Part of their friendly series. De Oliveira sends it wide for Wells. He can go one-on-one here against Corey Cronin. Bailey Rule is overlapping. Now it's with Rule, cutting it back. Pass along the ground was broken up. It'll be United corner, which is just as good for them. Under 10 minutes to play. As the lights are on now. Kalisic is subbed
Coming
off
on for Sydney FC is number 7, Nicholas Alfaro.
Alfaro. Wells to deliver. United players slowly enter the box. Again, they crowd Zavadinos. McGing is the man on him. Wells towards Tomilic. It's going to go for someone there to tap it in. And Sydney FC scramble away. Tomilic, McGing were amongst the interested parties after De Oliveira has his arm outstretched. Sydney FC are thinking about going quickly here to Junior Kunde. But Krilic is able to see away any trouble. Sure. Sydney FC know that there won't be too many chances. They'll look back on some of the ones they've had in the second half. McGing lumps it up. Zavella. That's going to be a Sydney FC throw. Alfaro. Now it's Sydney FC getting forward. Cronin. Sydney FC are going to hold it for a little bit. Try and wait for a good chance as Rule knew Alfaro was hunting for the ball and had to hook it up towards Zavella. Chabot. Brought down by Cronin for Rose. Chabot is trying to press here. Krilic has found Jennings down the line. Puts his body between the ball and Shaw is going to be booked for his troubles. United will be in no hurry. Just over 5 minutes plus stoppages. They've held this 2-goal-to-1 advantage since halftime. Bailey Rule's goal right before the break is the difference right now. Wells. Glasic. Prendergast clears. Zavella is a target, but Kyle Shaw is equally as tall. Tomilic can bring it down to feet. Alfaro has taken it off his toes. Rule is there. Oh, that's off Junior Kunde. That might just go in here. Has that gone in? It has. Off the back of Junior Kunde. Tristan Prendergast looking to clear, and Junior Kunde had turned around. I'm not sure how much he knew about it.
Scored by number 23, Junior Conde.
And Sydney FC have equalised in dramatic fashion. The 10 men of Sydney FC, no less. And Prendergast is going to need some treatment here. And taking a look back on it, Prendergast was going for the clearance. Kunde just turned around and fortuitously it has gone in there. The assistant referee on the far side making the call. Prendergast tried his best to clear it, but it's going to go down as a goal for Sydney FC and Junior Kunde. And that means there's going to have to be a goalkeeper sub here for United. Orlovich will get his chance with Prendergast potentially injured here. And now how this game will turn again. There's 4 minutes plus stoppages remaining, which we should have a decent chunk of injury time. And Josip Orlovich is going to come into this game in rather stressful circumstances. Started the 3 first grade games this campaign, so he's no stranger to top level action.
Replacement for Sydney United, number 1, goalkeeper Tristan Prendergast is leaving the field.
And so Prendergast is
replaced
off.
by number 31, Josip Orlovich.
And Josip Orlovich has the tall task of trying to see this out for Sydney United. Of course, a reminder, they are up a man right now. We'll see how United will change here. They were so patient in possession. They knew that Sydney FC had to be the proactive team and force the issue down a man, down a goal. But now the pressure swings to United. They're the ones that have the man advantage and will be looking for the 3 points for Sydney FC, a point away to United after being down a man for the entirety of the second half. Will feel like a good point from their perspective. Tomalich goes in strong. Chabot trips up Lancaster. Things starting to become a little cagey here in Odense Park. Rose. Cleared away by Rule. Alfaro challenges and wins it. McGing sends it back up. Brought down by Zavella, only to the benefit of Sydney FC and Jared Middleton, who will try and pressure Krilic here. And they've won it back here, Sydney FC, in a good area. Alfaro was hoping that someone was there. Orlovich has spilt it, but he's gotten his hands back over it. And had there been someone closer to that cross, they would have been a decent chance. Towards the final minute of regulation time here. Tomalich across the midfield to De Oliveira. United try to make use of their man advantage. There'll be some tired Sydney FC legs out there, having defended for so long. Tomalich. De Oliveira gets a touch in. Chabot turns, has Rule on the overlap. Bailey Rule links up with fellow goal scorer Mason Wells. Wells with a bit of room to operate. First time cross needs to be good towards Zavella. Sydney FC cleared, now Kunde. Zavadinos saw it all the way from Krilic. Was not going to be troubled by that one, as all eyes will turn to the fourth official, Mia Velarde, as to how much stoppage time she will put up. In all honesty, I don't want this game to end. It's been so entertaining between both these sides. Chabot, him and Lancaster tangle up. 5 minutes of time are added on. Plenty of time for both to think about getting a winner.
The fourth official has put up
Alvaro.
5 minutes of injury time.
That one is
5
off
minutes of injury
Jake
time.
Rose, so that's going to be a Sydney FC drop ball. And Sydney FC will be the happier of the two sides if this result holds. Of course, being down a man for so long, the lower side on the table, away from home. Cronin. Sun setting. Here it's a beautiful sunset at that. It's been a picturesque day for football. Tomilic looking to unleash the pace of Jennings. The ball gets over the top to him. Leroy Jennings for the winner. Saved by Zavadinos. A massive save by the young Sydney FC keeper. Jennings had a great look at it as well. But at full stretch, Zavadinos denied him. Chabot stands over this one. Numbers piling in for United. And now Jake Rose has to sort this out. Chabot towards the 6-yard box. Zavadinos punches only as far as Rule, who puts it back into the mixer before it's poked away by Sydney FC, and they can reset their defence. Chabot goes down and wins the foul. And they'll lump this one into the box, you'd think, United. They've scored so many goals late recently. 3 of their last 5 have been in the 84th minute or later. And they know how to win late in recent weeks, United. Could we be set for more late drama in Odense Park? De Oliveira floated into the box. Up goes Tomilic, he wins it, but Zavadinos rushes out to claim and drops to the deck to try and calm things down from a Sydney FC perspective. Zavadinos. Up it goes. Glassett comes down with it. Lancaster sends it forward again. McGing this time. And Shaw. They exchange headers. Jennings tries to keep it in despite his best attempts. It's going to be a Sydney FC throw. 2.5 minutes of stoppage time have passed and 2.5 minutes remain. At least. There could be more as well. That's only a minimum, of course. Sydney FC are looking to hold on to a huge point considering the circumstances. Will Kennedy was sent off, their captain, on the 50th minute after his second yellow card. De Oliveira. Wells on his feet now. He can provide the influence. Chabot on the edge of the area. Into the bottom corner he tried. He was trying to place it there, but Zavadinos had spotted it and got 2 hands to keep it away from any players that were looking to feed off the rebound. Zavadinos clears again. He's been good in the second half, Alex Zavadinos. That save against Jennings will be crucial, but they'll have to be called upon again, the Sydney FC defence. Wells looking to cut inside onto the left before it's broken up, and that's good defensive tracking back there by Lancaster, the substitute. 4 minutes gone in extra time. Alfaro sends it towards the corner where McAllister is chasing, but Krilic is able to beat him to it. De Oliveira is being harried in his own half. Sydney FC are trying to prevent United from getting forward. Rose goes in and he's kept that out. Final minute of extra time here. How much time is left for either side to find a potential winner? Middleton will get to this one first and sends that out towards the car park. No chances taken. Chabot assesses the options ahead of him. Rule is in space. Tomilic Thought about the strike. It's a low percentage option. He's found Rule here. Bailey Rule cutting it back, and it's in. Bailey Rule, the 95th minute winner for Sydney United 58. It's another late goal for the Kings of the late winner. And they've done it again. Sydney United 58. Another late goal for them, and this time it's Bailey Rule.
This afternoon with his second goal.
His second goal of the night.
Please put your hands together for number 3, scoring the third goal for Sydney United.
And Sydney United 58 have had to wait a long time for this important third goal, but it comes down to some good midfield work, it must be said, by Anthony Tomilich. Was given a lot of space and opened up the defence with the simplest of passes. And from there, Rule tried his luck at the near post and blasted it in to the top corner for the 95th minute winner. Just late drama again. We said it. So many late goals in recent weeks for Sydney United 58. The 87th minute winner last week from Matt Hatch. The 84th minute winner the week before from Liam McGing. Another in the 91st from DeRobillard recently. And you can add Bailey Rule's 95th minute effort to the collection of late goals for Sydney United this season. Wells goes to the ground and wins a foul. And full time at Adenza Park, a 5-goal thriller.
Congratulations to Sydney United.
Capped
3 wins in a row in the New South Wales Premier League. With
95th minute winner
over Sydney FC.
Their third win in a
2
row.
goals by Bailey Rule.
Their
1
fourth
goal
win in a row in all
Wells.
competitions.
Congratulations to the boys. They are back here next Sunday, 3 p.m. against Manly. So
A result in which they were pushed all the way by the 10 men of Sydney FC, who were mere minutes away from walking away with a point after Junior Kunde inadvertently equalised after Prendergast's clearance ricocheted off his back into the back of the net.
Next Sunday, 3 p.m. kickoff against Manly.
And from there, Sydney United clicked into another gear, looking for the third goal to seal the 3 points. And it was Bailey Rule that did the business. So full time here at Adenza Park, a fantastic game. See Sydney United shore up their place in the top 6. A great afternoon of action. Will Constantinides here for you. It's been a pleasure to bring it to you. We'll see you back soon for another weekend of NPL football.